Welcome to Flyhigh Ministries, everybody. Really good to be with you today. I pray that the Lord is blessing you and keeping you no matter where you're at and no matter what you're doing. Today's message is America has become a gladiatorial society. America has become a gladiatorial society. If I would ask you today what a gladiatorial society is, what would you say? Maybe you might say that it's a society that has gladiators like it did back in the Roman time, or gladiator fighting in the ring, sort of like the UFC fighting champion. Well, none of these are correct, and the truth of the matter is a gladiatorial society is a society that rejoices when someone else fails. A gladiatorial society is a society that rejoices when someone else fails. It's a society who laughs at someone else's pain. It's a society who laughs at someone else's sickness. It's a society who laughs at someone else's poverty. This is a gladiatorial society when people actually rejoice when someone else fails. People actually rejoices when someone else gets hurt. People actually rejoice when someone else is homeless. Yes, this is the kind of society that we in America live in today. We live in a gladiatorial society, and it's a society that rejoices when another man and another woman falls. You need to understand that today, that America has become a gladiatorial society. And it basically, a gladiatorial society rejoices when they see another person suffer. When they see someone else suffer. When they see another man or another child or another family suffer, they rejoice. Yes, this is the kind of society we live in today. We live in a gladiatorial society. Sorry, you bastard. Sucks to be you, doesn't it? You're a loser. Get out of my life, low life. This is what people say, or I'm good, I'm a winner. I'm a winner, I'm better than you. Oh, my house is bigger than you. I got a higher position than you. Come on, somebody. This is a gladiatorial society. My church is bigger than your church. I got a bigger car than your car. I make more money than you. Ha, 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 ha. Oh, come on, somebody. We see that America is becoming a gladiatorial society, and all you got to do is look around our nation today. You're going to see that the corruption of America is getting greater and greater every day, because we have lived in this gladiatorial, predatorial society, where this society and people love to prey on other people. People love to laugh and prey on other people's pain. People love to pray and laugh at other people's suffering. Today, if someone would die, you wouldn't even feel anything today, because your heart's been hardened. You're turning into a gladiatorial society. Yes, I don't know about you, but throughout America, the police state is rising. Evil is moving in. Churches are getting more corrupt. And you are left in this gladiatorial society. Either you prey on other people or they'll prey on you. Either you laugh at other people or they will laugh at you. America has become a society where niceness doesn't matter anymore. No one's nice to anybody. Nobody plays in the basketball or baseball together anymore. Everybody's jealous of somebody else's success. When was the last time you said good job to someone that's more successful than you? When was the last time you said good job to someone that does better than you? Oh, come on, somebody. This is the mindset of a gladiatorial society, where no more can we rejoice in other people's successes, but we rejoice in other people's sufferings and pains. And if they lose a job, we rejoice in it. And if they get something bad happens to them, they rejoice in it. Oh, come on, somebody. I know right now you've rejoiced in other people's pain. If you're honest with yourself, you'd rejoice when you watch somebody else fail. If you're honest with yourself, you would rejoice because you've watched someone else fall. But I'm here to tell you, this is a gladiatorial society, and you need to change that mindset. Oh, come on, somebody. Today's scripture is going to be coming out of Luke chapter 10, verse 25 and through 37. That's Luke chapter 10, verse 25 through 37. You've heard this over and over again about the parable of the Good Samaritan, but you're going to see that there's a few people that saw this man suffering. And I'm here to tell you, there's a lot of folks in other countries. And when I was in another country, I remember walking down the street, and I saw these children begging for food on the street. And I saw people just walk by these children because they were in a hurry to their jobs. See, that's a gladiatorial society where they just look at these children and they say, that's too bad, but they move on. And I understand you can't help everybody, but come on, somebody, this is happening in America today. But as we turn to our Bibles, in the parable of the Good Samaritan, in verse 25, on one occasion an expert in the law stood up to test Jesus, the teacher, and he asked, what must I do to inherit eternal life? What is it written in the law? He replied. How do you read it? He answered, love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your strength, and with all your mind, and love your neighbor as yourself. You have answered correctly, Jesus said. Do this and you will live. But he wanted to justify himself, so he asked Jesus, and who is my neighbor? And in reply, Jesus said, a man, he was going down from Jerusalem to Jericho when he was attacked by robbers. They stripped him of his clothes, they beat him, and they went away, leaving him half dead. A priest happened to be going down the same road, and when he saw the man, he passed by on the other side. So too a Levite, when he came to the place, he saw him, he passed by on the other side. You need to understand, a priest passed by this guy who was stripped naked and beaten at the side of the road. And then the Levite, he also came by. But last, the Samaritan, as he traveled, he came where the man was, and when he saw him, he took pity on him. He went to him and bandaged up his wounds, pouring out oil and wine. Then he put the man on his own donkey, and he brought him to an inn and took care of him. And the next day he took him out with 2 denarii, and he gave them into an innkeeper. Look after him, he said, and then I'll return, and I will reimburse you for the extra expenses that you may have. Which of these 3 do you think was a neighbor to the man who fell into the hands of the robbers? Said Jesus. The expert of the law replied, the one who had mercy on him. Jesus told him, go and do likewise. You need to understand, back in that day in the Bible, there was 2 religious men that walked past this guy that needed help. And then there was a Samaritan. Now you need to understand about this Samaritan, he came from a race or a culture that was hated by the Jews. And so when the Samaritan saw the hurt man and had compassion on him, he poured oil and wine on his wounds, and he bound the wounds up, and then he put the man on his donkey, and the Samaritan took him to an inn or a hotel to care for him. But you'd think the priest would have showed a little bit more compassion, and you'd think the Levite would have showed a little bit more mercy and compassion, but the compassion came from the foreigner. The compassion came from an outsider. And I'm here to tell you that you're probably looking for compassion by people close to you, but the compassion might be those that are far from you. Maybe you're looking for compassion from somebody in your church or in your community or in your family, but the compassion might not come from that area. The compassion might come from a faraway land, a faraway state, a faraway neighborhood, wherever. But I'm here to tell you, those that were supposed to give compassion didn't. And the least likely person, the Samaritan, who was the enemy of the Jews in that time, who was very much had cross-cultural conflicts, he was the one that showed compassion. And the Samaritan from that area that was sandwiched between the Galilee to the north and Judea to the south were hated by the Jews because they intermarried with non-Jews and did not strictly observe the Mosaic law. So in the time of Jesus, the road from Jerusalem to Jericho was notorious for its danger and difficulties, and was known by the way of blood, because of the blood which is often shed there by robbers. So here's a road that was often, people that traveled this road, they were often murdered, hurt, robbed, killed, whatever. And here's a Samaritan that decided, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and help this guy. I'm going to go ahead and show a little compassion or mercy. But you can see in that time that this was a gladiatorial society. And you can see when that priest walked by this guy, he almost rejoiced in his suffering, because he didn't even take a moment to help. He had no compassion or mercy. He rejoiced in another man's suffering. And you can see the Levi as he walked by the hurting man on the road that's just been robbed. You could just imagine him walking by this guy and showing no mercy and almost rejoicing in his suffering. This is a gladiatorial mindset. And this is a gladiatorial mindset, and the Samaritans, they were hated by the Jews to such a degree that the one who had mercy on him may indicate a reluctance to the name of the Samaritan. You see, the Samaritans in turn hated the Jews because the Jews hated them, and there was such tension. There was particularly high tension in the early decades of that first century because the Samaritans had desecrated the Jewish temple and the Passover with human bones. So there's such high tension. In that time, they lived in a predatory society. And instead of showing mercy, they laughed at another person's pain. Instead of showing compassion, they laughed at another person's poverty. Instead of taking time to help, instead of taking time to listen, instead of taking time to encourage and build up, they laughed, they tore down. These are a gladiatorial society. And you can see this gladiatorial society moving in that day. And I want you to see a whole different picture of the parable of the Good Samaritan. The two people that were supposed to show compassion had this gladiatorial mindset. And this gladiatorial mindset is in our church today. And I'm here to tell you that some pastors, they actually rejoice in your suffering. Because I'm going to tell you, there's some preachers out there who rejoice in your pain. There's some... Oh, come on, somebody. There's teachers out there. They rejoice. They have the gladiatorial mindset because to see you suffer somehow makes them feel good. To see you in pain and poverty somehow makes them feel richer. They don't want to see you be better than them. They don't want to see you even reach to the stars. This is a gladiatorial society. The church is in a gladiatorial mindset. You go to the pastor and you say, I need some help. He has that gladiatorial mindset and says, I'm richer and better than you. Oh, come on, somebody. We live in a gladiatorial society. Nobody cares. The American people don't care about the American people anymore. We just want to watch others suffer, and we rejoice in that. We want to watch others people's pain and rejoice in that. And just like on that road, the two religious folks that were supposed to show mercy is not showing mercy anymore. The two people that are supposed to have mercy, the church was supposed to have mercy on the American people. They're not showing mercy to the American people anymore. Oh, come on, somebody. The church was supposed to have mercy on the American communities and on your small towns. They're not showing it anymore. I know some of you ain't listening to me because you look so good and you look so pretty, but I'm here to tell you America has become a gladiatorial society. Some of you folks, you think you're better than everybody else. Some of you folks that think you're better. But we got some problems here. What was the gladiatorial society? Well, the gladiators, they were most unfree individuals, either condemned criminals or they were prisoners of war who has lost their citizenship rights. And although some of them were volunteers who were mostly freedmen of very low classes of freeborn men who chose to be a slave for monetary rewards or for the fame. Gladiators were brought for the purpose of a gladiatorial combat and were endured branding chains, the flogging or death by the sword, and subject to a rigorous training, fed on high-energy diets, and given expert medical attention. Gladiators were famously popular in ancient from the 7th centuries, from the 3rd century BC to the 4th century AD, fairly late in the public occupied a prominent position in Roman society. They would fight in massive amphitheaters, and most famous being the Colosseum in Rome. And then these games slowly transformed into the spectator, a form of a public execution, and was seen by the public as entertainment in simpler, rougher times. It escalated as the Romans valued the art of killing and acted as a distraction for all citizens. Yes, allowing them to release their violent impulses and aggression within the completely separate social realm. We can assume that there were gladiatorial fights before this in Rome, but were not recorded. And I'm going to tell you, this tradition of this gladiatorial combats, this not only did it not involve in Rome, but considered to have come far even from the Etruscans. And I'm here to tell you today that this gladiatorial society and what happened in Rome, this was a form of a public execution, and the society, they enjoyed it. They enjoyed going to this Colosseum. They loved it. It was entertainment. Just like today when you're watching television, you enjoy watching people killing one another. But unfortunately today, this kind of enjoyment and this kind of public execution, this kind of spectator mindset that entered into this form of entertainment, I believe was the fall of the Roman Empire. They became a gladiatorial society. They rejoiced in other people's sufferings. What about you today? Do you rejoice when you see another man suffer? Do you rejoice when you see another woman suffer? I hope you check your heart today. Because some of you, you want another man, or you want to see someone that has hurt you suffer. This is a gladiatorial mindset, and I'm here to tell you we need more people of forgiveness. There's many people that have hurt you in your life. Forgive them and move on. You say it's hard, I want judgment upon them. I'm here to tell you God is the ultimate judge. But America has turned into this gladiatorial society where we tend to rejoice when we see some kind of public execution. We rejoice when we see someone fail. We rejoice when we see other people suffer and poverty. This is a gladiatorial mindset. Come on, somebody. I know there only can be one winner, but we rejoice when another one fails. Oh my gosh, I don't know, but America's become a gladiatorial society. We don't show compassion to the hurting. You're just no different, church, than that priest. You're no different, church, than that Levite. I guarantee there's more people suffering in your church right now that you're not even paying attention to. I guarantee there's more people suffering around you that you are not even paying attention to because you're worried about your own. You worry more about your own problems, so instead of reaching out to help someone else with their problems, you'd rather see them suffer because that somehow makes you feel good. So if someone else is suffering, somehow you feel good. If somehow someone else is less than you, it makes you feel good. We got to have compassion on people. We got to have compassion on the poor. We got to have compassion on the sick. We have to have compassion on the hungry and the weak. We have to have compassion on the widow. We have to have compassion on the child. Yes, we need Jesus back in America, and we need him now. We need Jesus back in our society. We have become a gladiatorial society where we love to see other people suffer. We have created hysteria in every little thing. Churches no longer preach about Jesus. Churches no longer have a picture of Jesus. Churches no longer show compassion anymore. The church has become all about money. Oh, come on, somebody. We need Jesus back in America, and we need him now. We need Jesus back in America, and we need him now. This is a gladiatorial society that we live in. No more do people give each other encouragement. But they only rejoice when someone suffers. They only rejoice when they see someone that's in pain. They only rejoice when someone dies. And they only rejoice when someone has less than them. This is a gladiatorial society. We don't show compassion. We don't cry anymore. What about you? If you were walking down that road, a dangerous road, and you saw someone in hurt, would you be like the priest that just walked by? Would you be like the Levite who just walked by? Or would you be like a foreigner who decided to help? You know, there's a lot of foreigners that have come to America and they've helped the American people. Why, there's a lot of Americans that laugh at the pain and suffering of the American people. We got a lot of good foreigners here that have come here to help the American folks. We got a lot of good foreigners that have come to our soil that became U.S. citizens that have helped the American people. They have prospered. And at the same time, while we have Americans just laughing at other Americans. I wonder, this priest and this Levite were both Jews who chose not to help the other Jew, that they didn't show compassion for the Jew. It was a Jew that didn't show compassion for the Jew, but a Samaritan did all he could to help. Because the mindset of the priest and the mindset of the Levite was a gladiatorial mindset. As they walked by the man, they rejoiced in his pain. Somehow they said God was condemning him. Somehow they said he must have deserved it. Somehow they said he must have did something bad. I'm more righteous than you, so I'm just going to walk right by and not look. How many of you are just walking right by? You are walking right by folks in your town. Because you think because you're the deacon, or you think because you're the pastor, you walked right by these other houses and you think that God can't show mercy to them as the Lord showed mercy to Nineveh. You've walked right by them. You are no different than this priest who claimed to be so righteous and good, but you walked right by those that are in pain. You walked right by those that are in need. You walked right by those. You didn't even take time to listen because you're too busy doing the Lord's work. You didn't even take time to try to understand because God was blessing you and nobody else. You understand. You became a gladiator. You started rejoicing when you saw someone else suffer. I don't know about you, but America has become bunch of gladiators. We rejoice at another person's suffering. We need Jesus in America. We need Jesus now. Oh, come on, somebody. When will you start showing compassion to others again? When will you start to help others again? Will you stop being snobs and thinking you're better than everybody else? When will you take your iPhones and just throw them out the window? Take your TV, stop thinking you're richer than everybody else, and treat people the way you would want to be treated. What was written in the law said, he answered, love the Lord thy God with all your heart, and with all your soul, and with all your strength, and with all your mind, and love your neighbor as yourself. If you were the one that was lying on that road, and if you were the one that got robbed, and if you were the one that was in poverty, and if you were the one that was sick, and if you were the one that failed, wouldn't you want someone to pick you up again? Wouldn't you want someone to take you to the end to rest? Wouldn't you want someone to have mercy and compassion on you? No, you would not, because you become little gladiators. You rejoice in people's weakness because you're on this products from GNC and you pump yourself up in the weight room and you're stronger and tougher than everybody else. And you watch UFC and you're so great. And I got my nice big house. And I drive my big car because I'm bigger and better than you. It's a gladiatorial mindset, guys. This is what made Rome fall. This is why Rome fell. They looked at this as entertainment. So when you see someone suffer, it's entertainment to you today. It's an entertainment thing to you today when you watch another person suffer. I'm here to tell you we need Jesus back in America, and we need him now. Yes, we need Jesus, and we need him now. I'm sick and tired of this, and you should be too. America is about to fall. America is about to fall because we have taken Jesus out of this nation. We need Jesus back in our society, and we need him now. We need to stop being gladiators. We need to stop being gladiators. We need to stop becoming a gladiatorial society. We need to return to Jesus Christ, and we need to show compassion to other people. Amen.